Commit to the work, not the feelings, because feelings change. They come and go. They rise in the morning and disappear by noon. But work waits. Some days you feel inspired. Some days you don't feel like doing anything at all. And that's where most people lose the game. They negotiate with their feelings. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel motivated. And life keeps moving without them. Success doesn't ask how you feel today. It asks what you did. Feelings say, rest. Discipline says, show up. Feelings say, maybe tomorrow. Commitment says, do it now. If you only work when you feel like it, you'll live a life based on moods. And moods are unreliable advisors. The disciplined person understands something powerful. Progress is built on consistency, not emotion. The days that change your life are often the days you didn't feel like doing the work. That's where character is formed. That's where strength is built. That's where winners separate themselves. You don't need to feel confident to act. You don't need to feel ready to begin. You need a decision, a commitment, a standard. Because when you commit to the work, the feelings eventually catch up. And that is the difference between wishful thinking and a life of results. Feelings are powerful, but they are not permanent. They change with the weather. They change with sleep. They change with food. They change with mood. And yet, most people let feelings run their lives. They wake up and ask, how do I feel today? And then they decide what to do based on the answer. That is a dangerous way to live. Because feelings are not leaders. They are followers. They follow habits. They follow environment. They follow discipline. A weak life is built on emotional decisions. A strong life is built on principles. Feelings say, I'm tired. Work says, get up anyway. Feelings say, I'm not in the mood. Commitment says, do it anyway. Feelings say, I'll start when I feel better. Discipline says, start now and you'll feel better later. If you wait to feel good before doing the work, you'll never do enough work to feel good consistently. That's the trap. I used to think motivation was the answer. If I could just feel inspired every day, everything would be easy. Then I learned something valuable. Motivation is unreliable, but discipline is dependable. Motivation visits. Discipline stays. Motivation is like a visitor at your door. Sometimes it shows up. Sometimes it doesn't. Discipline is like a resident. It lives with you. It works for you, even when you don't feel like it. Let me tell you something important. You don't feel like doing what's hard. That's normal. Human nature avoids pain. It seeks comfort. It looks for easy, but easy has a hidden cost. Easy now leads to hard later. Discipline now leads to easy later. This is one of life's great laws. As I've said before, we must all suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And regret is always heavier. Feelings are short-term thinkers. They only care about now. Discipline thinks long-term. It thinks about tomorrow. It thinks about next year. It thinks about the rest of your life. Feelings ask, what do I want right now? Discipline asks, what will I be glad I did later? That question changes everything. Imagine hiring an advisor. One advisor changes their opinion every day. Yesterday they were excited. Today they're doubtful. Tomorrow they're afraid. Would you trust them with your future? Of course not. Yet most people let their feelings advise their schedule, their habits, their goals, and their commitments. That's chaos. Here's the truth. Feelings are not facts. They are signals. They tell you what's happening inside. They do not tell you what to do next. A strong person listens to feelings without obeying them. They acknowledge them. Then they act based on values. When you commit to the work, something powerful happens. Your feelings begin to follow your actions. You don't work because you feel confident. You feel confident because you worked. You don't feel disciplined first. You become disciplined because you practice discipline. Action shapes emotion. not the other way around. Think of a thermostat. A thermometer only tells you the temperature. It reports. It reacts. A thermostat sets the temperature. It controls. Feelings are the thermometer. They report your inner state. Discipline is the thermostat. It sets the standard. If you let feelings run the system, your life is always reacting. If you live by discipline, your life is directed. I learned early on that the days I felt like quitting were often the days that mattered most. Those days trained my character. Those days shaped my future. Anyone can work on the good days. Champions are built on the hard days. When energy is low, when doubt is loud, when feelings are uncooperative, that's when commitment matters. Here's something worth writing down. Never ask your feelings for permission to do what you already decided. Decide once. Commit fully. Then act consistently. That removes negotiation. And negotiation with feelings is where progress dies. You are not your feelings. You are the one who chooses what to do despite them. Feelings are passengers. You are the driver. Take the wheel. Set the direction. Commit to the work. Because feelings will change, but discipline, practiced daily, will build a life that doesn't. Commitment is not a feeling. It is a decision, a clear decision, a final decision, a decision that ends discussion. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they never fully decide. They dabble, they try, they test, and then they retreat. Commitment changes everything. When you are uncommitted, every obstacle becomes an excuse. Every inconvenience becomes a reason to stop. When you are committed, obstacles become problems to solve. Inconveniences become part of the process. That's the difference. An uncommitted person negotiates daily. How do I feel? Is today a good day? Maybe tomorrow would be better. A committed person already decided. There is no debate. There is no bargaining. There is no inner argument. The work gets done. Commitment removes options, and that's why it's powerful. As long as quitting is an option, it will be used. As long as excuses are available, they will be chosen. But when you commit, you burn the bridge back to comfort. There is no retreat, only progress. I learned this lesson early. When I truly committed to my work, I stopped asking, should I do this today? That question was already answered. The decision was made once. The action was repeated daily. That's the secret. Think of commitment like setting a compass. Once the direction is set, you don't keep checking which way to go. You move. You adjust for obstacles. But you don't change direction every time the road gets rough. Without commitment, you wander. With commitment, you travel with purpose. Many people confuse commitment with intensity. Intensity is emotional. It's loud. It's short-lived. Commitment is quiet. It's steady. It's patient. Commitment shows up on ordinary days, on boring days, on difficult days. That's where results are built. Let me give you a simple truth. If you have to decide every day whether you're going to do the work, you haven't committed yet. Commitment decides once. After that, discipline takes over. Here's a powerful principle. Decide what you want. Decide what it will cost. Then pay the price willingly. Most people decide what they want, but never accept the cost. They want the reward without the responsibility. That never works. When you accept the cost in advance, the work feels lighter. There is no resentment, no complaining, just progress. Commitment simplifies life. You waste less energy on doubt, less energy on hesitation, less energy on internal debate. Your mind becomes clearer. Your actions become stronger. You stop asking, should I? And start asking, how can I? That shift builds power. Here's something worth remembering. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your commitment. Goals inspire. Commitment sustains. Without commitment, goals are just wishes. With commitment, they become plans. A committed person doesn't wait for conditions to improve. They improve themselves. They don't wait for confidence. They build it through action. They don't wait for clarity. They gain clarity by moving forward. One of the best decisions you'll ever make is deciding what you will no longer negotiate. Your work ethic, your standards, your daily habits. Once those are non-negotiable, your life becomes simpler, not easier, but clearer. Commitment is saying, this is who I am now, not someday, not when it feels good, now. And once you make that decision, life responds. Opportunities appear. Strength develops. Confidence grows. Not because it's easy, but because you decided to stop negotiating with yourself. Discipline is not a feeling. It is a decision. And the hard days are where that decision is tested. Anyone can work. When the mood is right, anyone can show up. When energy is high, anyone can be focused. When life is calm, but success doesn't ask how you feel. It asks what you do when you don't feel like it. That's where discipline lives. Discipline is doing what needs to be done long after the excitement is left. It's working. When applause is absent, it's continuing. When progress is invisible, it's showing up. When the voice in your head says, skip today, and that voice will visit often, it will sound reasonable. It will sound polite. It will say, rest today. You deserve it. But here's the truth. You don't get paid for what you intend to do. You get paid for what you do consistently. Discipline begins when you stop debating. If you negotiate with your emotions, you will lose. Feelings are excellent companions, but terrible leaders. They change with the weather. They rise and fall with sleep, stress, and circumstances. Discipline does not change. Discipline says, I do this whether I feel like it or not. That's the line that separates amateurs from professionals. The professional shows up tired. The professional shows up bored. The professional shows up on days no one is watching. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Here's a simple truth. The hard days pay the biggest dividends. Easy days don't stretch you. Comfortable days don't shape you. It's the days you want to quit that build strength, just like muscles. They don't grow when the weight feels light. They grow under resistance. Your character works the same way. Every time you act, in spite of your feelings, you add a brick to your foundation. Every disciplined action is a vote for the person you are becoming. And those votes add up. Discipline is not about punishment. It's about self-respect. It's saying, I keep promises to myself. Most people break promises quietly, not to others, to themselves. They say, I'll start tomorrow. I'll do it later. I'll get serious soon. And soon never shows up. Discipline ends that pattern. Discipline says, I do what I said I would do, even when motivation disappears, especially when motivation disappears, because motivation is a guest. Discipline is a resident. Here's another truth. You don't need more willpower. You need better structure. Willpower gets tired. Habits do not. Discipline becomes easier when you remove choice. You don't ask, should I work today? You say, this is what I do. You don't decide daily whether to show up. You decide once who you are. That's power. Create rituals. Create routines. Make the right action automatic. The fewer decisions you make, the stronger discipline becomes. And remember this, small disciplines create massive results. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't look heroic. Saving a little money doesn't look impressive. Practicing when no one sees doesn't look exciting. But compounded over time, small disciplines create extraordinary lives. Neglect works the same way. Small neglects create disasters. Skipping once seems harmless. Skipping often becomes a habit. Habits become lifestyles, and lifestyles become futures. Choose wisely. Discipline also means doing the basics well. Most people fail, not from lack of information, but from lack of application. They know what to do. They just don't do it. When it's inconvenient, discipline bridges that gap. It says, do the basics on the boring days, because boring days are most days, and that's where winners are made. Let me say this clearly. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your discipline. Goals give direction. Discipline gives results. Without discipline, goals remain wishes. With discipline, even modest goals become inevitable. So when the day is heavy, when progress feels slow, when feelings say stop, remember this. Those are the days that matter most. Those are the days that separate you from the crowd. Do the work anyway. Show up anyway. Stay consistent anyway. Because discipline is not about today. It's about who you become tomorrow. And the person who masters discipline never has to rely on feelings again. They rely on character. Showing up changes everything. Not once, not occasionally, but always. Confidence does not come first. Action comes first. Confidence is the reward for consistency. You don't wait until you feel ready. You become ready by showing up. Most people think confidence is something you discover. It's not. Confidence is something you earn. You earn it by keeping small promises. You earn it by doing what you said you would do. You earn it by standing firm when quitting looks attractive. Every time you show up, you tell your mind, I can be trusted. And trust in yourself is the foundation of real confidence. The world doesn't change. When you show up, you do. Your posture changes. Your tone changes. Your standards change. You stop hoping. You start expecting because you've seen yourself follow through before. Showing up builds identity. You stop saying, I'm trying. You start saying, this is who I am. And identity is powerful. When something becomes part of who you are, it no longer requires motivation. A professional doesn't ask. If they feel inspired, they show up because that's what professionals do. Amateurs wait for conditions to improve. Professionals improve under any conditions. Showing up teaches you resilience. It teaches you that bad days are survivable. That fatigue doesn't kill progress. That discomfort is not a stop sign. It's a training ground. The person who always shows up stops fearing hard days. They've already proven they can handle them. And once fear loses power, clarity takes its place. Character is built in private moments. No applause, no recognition, no reward, just you and the decision to keep going. That's where character grows. Character is not what you say you value. It's what you practice when it's inconvenient. Showing up creates quiet strength, not loud confidence, not arrogant confidence, quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't announce itself, the kind that doesn't need validation. You walk differently. When you know, you don't quit. Long-term results are not mysterious. They are predictable. Small actions done daily become large outcomes. Miss a day occasionally, and life forgives you. Miss a habit regularly, and life collects interest. Showing up compounds. Each effort builds on the last. Each repetition strengthens the structure. Momentum is born from consistency, and momentum changes everything. Things that felt heavy become lighter. Things that felt impossible become manageable. Not because the work changed, because you did. Showing up also simplifies life. You stop negotiating. You stop overthinking. You stop arguing with yourself. You remove drama from decision making. You just do the work. Simplicity is strength. The more complicated you make success, the further away it becomes. Showing up keeps it simple. There's another benefit most people overlook. Showing up creates self-respect. And self-respect is more valuable than praise. When you respect yourself, you don't tolerate excuses. You don't tolerate chaos. You don't tolerate drift. You become selective. With your time, you become disciplined. With your energy, you raise your standards because you've earned the right to. And raise standards create better lives. Remember this, you don't have to be exceptional to be consistent. You just have to be willing to show up. When the results are slow, willing to show up. When no one notices, willing to show up. When enthusiasm is gone, that willingness is rare. And rarity creates value. Over time, people notice, not because you talk about discipline, but because your results speak. Consistency makes noise without sound. And here's the greatest reward. When you become someone who always shows up, life stops intimidating you. Challenges look smaller. Obstacles look temporary. Setbacks look instructional. You don't panic. You adjust because you trust your ability to stay in the game. Showing up doesn't guarantee immediate success, but it guarantees progress. And progress is the real secret. So decide today not to be perfect, not to be fast, but to be present. Show up tired. Show up unsure. Show up imperfect. Just show up. Because the person who always shows up always gets somewhere. And in the end, that consistency becomes your greatest advantage. Commitment is not loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. Commitment whispers, I'll be here tomorrow. And the next day, and the next. That's how lives are built. Most people want intensity. They want emotion. They want excitement. But life rewards endurance. Commitment is endurance in its highest form. When you commit to the work, you stop asking, how do I feel today? You start asking, what needs to be done? That single shift changes everything because feelings are temporary, but commitments are permanent. Feelings rise and fall like the weather. Sunny one day, stormy the next. But the farmer doesn't consult the sky. Before planting seeds, they plant because it's time. And later, they harvest. Commitment works the same way. You don't work because you feel inspired. You work because you made a decision. Decisions create direction. Emotions create distraction. An unbreakable life is built by people who reduce distraction. They don't argue with discomfort. They don't negotiate with resistance. They expect difficulty. And because they expect it, it doesn't surprise them. Surprise weakens people. Preparation strengthens them. When hardship arrives, the committed person says, of course, this is hard. Nothing valuable is easy. They don't panic. They don't retreat. They don't quit. They adjust their pace, but not their purpose. That's power. Commitment also teaches patience. Results are slow. Progress is quiet. Growth is invisible at first. And that's where most people quit. They confuse silence with failure. But silence is often the sound of roots growing. If you pull the plan up every week to check progress, you kill it. Commitment means trusting the process. Even when proof is missing, that trust creates inner calm. You stop chasing quick wins. You stop comparing timelines. You stop rushing outcomes. You work. You wait. You work again. This rhythm creates stability. And stability creates strength. An unbreakable life is not free of stress. It's free of chaos. Chaos comes from inconsistency, from starting and stopping, from emotional decision-making. Commitment removes chaos. You know what you do on good days. You know what you do on bad days. That certainty creates peace, and peace creates focus. Focused people are dangerous in a good way. They don't scatter energy. They don't chase trends. They don't abandon goals. At the first sign of boredom, they stay. Staying power is rare, and rare qualities produce rare results. Commitment also sharpens character. When you commit, you become honest with yourself. No more excuses. No more stories. No more pretending. You see yourself clearly, and clarity is uncomfortable, but it's also freeing. You stop lying about what you want. You stop lying about what it takes. You accept responsibility, and responsibility is the gateway to freedom. The committed person doesn't feel trapped by discipline. They feel empowered by it, because discipline protects their future from their moods. That's wisdom. Over time, commitment creates momentum. Work done consistently becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. You stop saying, I'm trying to change. You say, this is who I am now. Identity-driven behavior is effortless. You don't force it. You express it. That's when life shifts. Opportunities appear because you're prepared. Confidence grows because it's justified. Respect follows because it's earned, not overnight, but inevitably. An unbreakable life is not built by talent. It's built by follow-through. Talent starts races. Commitment finishes them. And in the end, life doesn't reward who wanted it most. Life rewards who stayed with it longest. So make the decision, not an emotional promise, not a temporary burst, a quiet, firm decision. I will do the work, whether I feel like it or not. That decision will scare the old version of you, and it will change the future version of you. Commit to the work. Feelings will catch up later. They always do. Your life does not rise to the level of your feelings. It rises to the level of your commitment. Feelings will come and go. Energy will rise and fall. Motivation will visit and then disappear. But commitment stays. It stays on tired mornings. It stays on lonely nights. It stays when progress is slow and praise is absent. That's why it works. You don't win because you felt strong. You win because you stayed with the work, stayed with the plan, stayed with your word. And every time you showed up, you became a little stronger, a little calmer, a little more certain. Success didn't rush in. It grew in quietly, like roots underground, like character in silence. One day, you look back and realize something important. You're no longer chasing confidence. You're standing on it. You're no longer waiting to feel ready. You are ready because you've done the work. So remember this. Commitment is not dramatic. It's dependable. And dependability builds extraordinary lives. Commit to the work. Let the feelings follow. They always do.